The journey to hold a handstand is weird. When we start anything new, we expect to get newbie gains and then diminishing returns. But when talking about the handstand, we don't even seem to get those newbie gains. Only frustration. Going from holding the handstand for 0 seconds to 15 seconds is harder than going from 15 seconds to 1 minute. And I hope that you will be able to reach your first 15 seconds with these 11 tips. Tip 1. Understanding what a handstand is. It is weird how sometimes we try to achieve things that we don't understand, and the handstand is one of those things. The handstand is just the version of your natural stand-up position. Standing up with your feet is so easy and feels so natural that we never get to experience or think about the difficulties of standing up until we try to stand up with our hands. The same exact feeling of easiness of standing up with your feet is what you actually want to achieve in your handstand. When you stand up with your feet, you're not battling against tension. You don't feel sluggish or heavy. You feel light as if you could do it all day. You should feel the same when doing a handstand. However, many times when doing the handstand, you feel as if you're actually battling against a force, and many times that is true when you lose balance. If you feel that you're going to forwards or backwards, it is because a part of your body is moving towards that direction. Such movement moves your center of mass away from where it should be for balance. In that situation, you're battling against a force, and most often than not, you simply lose balance. A good handstand in a way feels like nothing, so aim towards that feeling of nothingness. Tip 2. Hands are everything. Hands might be everything in a handstand. If you don't feel your hands in a handstand, you will never be able to hold one. It might sound too extreme to put your hands and fingers on such a pedestal, but the reason is that you never get to know how important they are to hold a handstand until you try to switch up the surface. For example, if you're able to consistently hold a handstand on the floor, once you switch up to a straight bar, it will be like starting from zero. You simply are not used to it. It doesn't matter if you're good at controlling your hips or shoulders. If you cannot apply pressure with your hands, then you will not be able to hold a handstand. It is then when you realize the importance of your hands. They are the base of the handstand. Try to feel them as much. Be aware of them. The more you do handstands, the greater the mind-muscle connection that you will form with your hands. Tip 3. Embrace your banana handstand. Most people put perfectionism as an excuse to not even try. If you put perfectionism aside, you take the perspective that you don't need to be the best when you are starting to do something. If you can learn anything in handstand training, it is that without trying you will never succeed. And challenging yourself means that you will not be the best, that you will struggle. Maybe you are too obsessed with the anterior pelvic tilt, or the protraction or retraction of the scapula. And instead of embracing the banana handstand, you are self-sabotaging yourself. Instead of practicing with what you can, you are obsessed about something you don't have. The more you do handstands, the better you will be. The guy who embraces the banana handstand will do more handstands, more volume, and more frequency, and on the long run, his body awareness and hand control will be better than somebody who couldn't do as much volume or couldn't hold the handstand because of his form obsession. Maybe the obstacle that is holding you back from holding the handstand consistently is your form obsession. If you embrace the banana handstand, you might be able to hold the handstand consistently and be able to do it more frequently. The handstand is already such a frustrating thing to hold for your first 7 seconds. Why are we promoting this straight line perfect form for beginners who don't have somebody to give them feedback? Major joints in a handstand. What should you feel in a handstand? If you were to consistently do elbow flexion and extension, and if you add shoulder flexion and extension on top of that, you will need to take in consideration the movement of 2 joints, your elbow and shoulder. However, if you completely extend your elbow and try to hold it still, then you only need to take in consideration the movement of your shoulder. When you play the same with the legs and hips, then by trying to extend your knees and trying to keep them as still as possible, then the only major joints that you should worry about are your shoulders and hips. Hip flexion will cause you to fall towards your stomach, whereas hip extension will cause you to fall towards your back. Shoulders should be at close to maximum flexion. The only movement they should do is shoulder extension, which will cause you to fall towards your stomach. Try to be more aware of your hips and keep your legs still. The same applies to the elbows and shoulders. For example, in a straight bar handstand, I notice that when I press, I am less aware of my legs. I don't keep them still or try to make my hips control my legs, and that is when I lose balance. What to do if you feel like falling forwards or backwards? Most falls will happen forwards towards your back. Your legs will either bend or move towards your back, and your center of mass will move towards that direction. To counter this movement of your legs, you could either try to keep your legs still and try to never lean them towards your back, which is impossible to always do. Sometimes it will happen and you need to be ready. In this case, you should apply pressure with your hands as much as possible to counter the movement of your legs towards your back. That is probably why you're not able to do a handstand. If you're not able to apply the correct amount of pressure to your hands and fingers, then you will always lose balance because you cannot counter that movement of your legs. If I feel that I am falling or losing balance towards my stomach, I bend my arms, as if I were to do a handstand push-up. If you feel that you're falling towards your stomach, bend your arms slightly. If you feel that you're falling towards your back, apply pressure as much as possible with your hands or fingers. Tip 6. Film yourself. Filming yourself is really important in a handstand because it might be the most important way to get feedback. If you don't film yourself, you never really get to see how your body is positioned. Maybe your legs are always bent, but because you never filmed yourself, you never know that the bending of your legs is causing you to lose balance. You only feel that you're falling towards your back. If you were to film yourself, you will know that the excessive bending of your legs is causing your center of mass to shift towards your back, which makes you to lose balance. And with that feedback, now you're able to try to keep your legs still and only move your hips, and therefore you will get better handstand attempts. Tip 7. Bad days will come. Your last handstand training might have been good, but maybe in the future session you might not even hold it for 3 seconds. If you were to go for a run and then attempt handstands after it, you will notice that their quality is really bad. That is because the handstand requires you to be fresh. Some days you will not need to go for a run or do any exercise before the handstand to notice that you feel weaker than usual. Those days are going to happen and your handstands are going to be worse than usual, and it is okay. Don't let that stop you. Just be ready, that is going to happen someday. Tip 8. Don't rush your sets. The worse you are at the handstands, the more you will need to attempt to get to the handstand. One little kick up to the handstand might not tire you. However, when frustration kicks in, you will endlessly try to get to the handstand. The more you try to get to the handstand without stopping, the more you will tire yourself in the long run, making your session really bad. Don't rush your sets and set some attempt limits. If you fail 3 times, stop. Rest for the next set, aim for quality. Don't tire yourself so much in a single set because it will cause you excessive fatigue both on the next day and during the session. Tip 9. How you get to the handstand matters. Kick-ups to handstand never work for me. The momentum created from a kick-up will always throw off my balance. If you have good shoulder strength, you should consider the bent arm handstand press as your main way to get to the handstand instead of a kick-up. It will allow you to get to the handstand in a slower way without any momentum from a kick-up, allowing for more control and awareness of your body as you get to the handstand position. Tip 10. You never understand until you do. Handstand tutorials are very similar to swimming tutorials. You never understand until you do. I don't know how to swim, and when I see a swimming tutorial, I simply cannot relate at all. A lot of handstand tips or insights will not really make sense until they do, and you have practiced enough. Information does not equal experience, and no amount of information will give you the connection or mind-muscle connection that you need to feel your hands and make the adjustments in your handstand. So practice a lot. Tip 11. Specificity and obsession. Get serious if you want a handstand. Most people start their training with hypertrophy principles. Training a movement pattern twice per week or even just once per week is the norm. You will grow muscle this way and then think that this way of training will work on other things. Can you really achieve the handstand only training twice per week with only 4 sets or minimum volume? I personally believe that the handstand is one of those things that you cannot learn casually. You need to aim for it very aggressively if you want your first 15 seconds and consistent holds. It is only after you get control of the handstand that you can back off and not be very aggressive or specific or that consistent in your handstand training. These were 11 tips to get your first 15 seconds of handstand and consistent holds. Some tips are practical tips, some were obstacles that you're going to face, some were different perspectives.